Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Legends and Loggers. My name is Zac Wohlstein, and I'm an outdoor television producer, and I'm joined by my co-host and brother,
Parker Wohlstein, and I'm a forester and a wildlife biologist.
and today we are continuing our spooky season series with another story instead of like a normal creature feature. This time we are heading to Illinois, land of Nicole, to an encounter called the Enfield Horror that took place back in 1973. And much like the Hopkinsville Goblins story we covered in episode 14, this episode is going to be mostly following one particular story, because this is actually all just about like one, well, there's like a couple of like offshoot encounters, but it's really like one main story. It's not like a collection of people seeing this thing. But there are a couple other similar stories that we'll cover briefly. But before we get into that, Fuzz, what you drinking?
I've got Hawaii 5 Ale from Distill Brewery out of somewhere in Illinois.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, got it up in Illinois when I was there a while back. Been saving it. Oh, the town, that's why I couldn't find it, is brewed in Normal, Illinois.
That's funny.
As opposed to Weird, Illinois.
Yeah, as opposed to those weirdos over in Weird, Illinois.
This is a blonde ale, much like my wife, with pineapple, coconut, mango, peach, and guava. This has nothing to do with Halloween, but here we are, Illinois.
I also like that it has nothing to do with Illinois.
Yeah, nothing to do with it.
It is from Illinois, but
they're like Hawaii.
Absolutely nothing to do with Illinois. Yeah, you know how I like my Hawaiian stuff from Illinois.
Yeah, I was there, and I was like, whenever we were up there, I had just gotten the other Illinois beer that I had a while back, and I was like, could go with that, but this sounds really good. I want to try that.
Yeah. So I also went with the fruity approach. This is actually one I've been wanting to try for a bit, and I thought it fits this one pretty well. It's called the Strange Beast Hard Kombucha. I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of kombucha, so I've been excited to give this one a go.
On the old booch.
But this one is from the Sierra Nevada Brewing Co. in, looks like California? Yeah, Chico, California.
Makes sense. Chico, a lot of skaters there, probably. I don't know. Anyway.
All right, let's pop this bad boy open.
Man, we're not... the drinks are not in the spooky season.
Yeah, right. We're going to have to get like Oktoberfest, like Sam Adams Oktoberfest or something.
Yeah, I need to try and find one that at least has like a pumpkin on it for the last one.
Yeah, you know what? For the Shadow People one, that'd be perfect. I spilled myself. Oh, God. Right on myself. Don't worry, we're going to keep it rolling, though. We're professional.
This might have skunked a little bit. Just slightly. But it's good.
Whew. Oh, God. That sucks, dude.
Can't taste much of the fruit in it anymore. It kind of tastes like a blonde ale.
All right. I think you got the perfect way to describe this one here. As with many things, kombucha, beer, many things, there's oftentimes a good part of it and a bad part of it. Is if you take the bad part of beer and the bad part of kombucha and combine it.
Oh, no.
And it's not beer specifically, it's just a hard kombucha, so I'm sure they just poured alcohol in it. But like, you got like the most bitter part of kombucha mixed with alcohol, and it's just rough.
Yikes. That does not sound great. Man, you're so excited for it, too.
Yep, so much for that.
Well, now you know.
All right, and we keep moving. So
don't get excited about things.
Yeah. If you have no expectations, everything meets your expectations, right?
Yeah, Dante said that.
Yeah. Did he really?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Out of all the Dante that I've read, because I am that guy, no.
I am that dog. Let's hop on into it. But before we get into the story, I do want to clarify that this is not to be confused with the Enfield poltergeist that took place in London back in the late 70s. That story is a ghost story, and that was actually what inspired the movie The Conjuring 2, which was that actually would be a pretty cool topic to cover if we ever decided to get more into like ghost stuff and whatnot. But for today, though, ghost stuff, that's legends too. That counts. It doesn't just have to be physical creatures, no?
Yeah, that's true. If we're going the whole legends and folklore, we can get in a whole bunch of ghosts and spirits. I mean, half the stuff we've talked about so far
Has been
some form of spirits.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, anyways, today we are not going to be talking about that one, though. We are going to be covering the Enfield Horror, or also known as the Enfield Monster. Now, the most well-known version of the story, or account, if you will, comes from a guy named Henry McDaniel. And now we're just going to go right into it. Do you have anything you want to say before we get started?
I would like to say that Henry McDaniel sounds like a fake name.
Yeah. But also sounds just about as Midwestern as you can get, you know?
Yeah, that's why it sounds so fake.
I went on down to old Henry McDaniel's place. You know, he lives just up down the road.
Oh, yeah, I went to old McDaniel's place.
Don't you know where he is? All right. So, at about 9:30 that night, McDaniel and his wife had returned home, and they were greeted by their 2 children, Lil and Henry.
It's just a God-given name, Lil.
I like the idea. Like, it's actually just one child, Lil Henry.
No, what I was going to say was I hope that Lil was born first, and then, I always think it's funny whenever, like, the second born gets the junior status.
Yeah,
the first one's
yeah.
like, what the? My name's Lil? You named him after yourself?
Yeah. He gets your name? He gets a real name?
Yeah. Call me Lil?
God dang it. But yes, okay, they get home, they're greeted by their 2 kids, Lil and Henry, and the kids proceeded to tell them a tale about how something had tried to get into the house by scratching on the door. Shortly thereafter, Henry was alerted to a particular scratching sound at his front door. He expected to see a dog or a cat, but what he met instead was far stranger.
I already got chills.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Just this guy's got some stones on him. He's like, oh, it's just a dog. Oh.
Freaking goes for it. What Henry found, to his horror, was a creature that had 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little short arms, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights. It stood 4.5 feet tall and was grayish colored. It was trying to get into the house. Henry was completely mortified by the sight of this horrible apparition and slammed the door and rushed to grab his .22 pistol and a flashlight. Henry proceeded to fire on the creature 4 times, according to him. When I fired the first shot, I knew I hit. The beast hissed at him, and most sources say it sounded kind of like a wildcat, and proceeded to bound away in long leaps across the yard, eventually becoming lost to McDaniel's sight as it made its way towards the railroad and the cover of trees. He asserted that he had seen the thing cover 50 feet in 3 leaps. Stunned by this encounter, Henry proceeded to call the police.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty bizarre creature, right?
I'm confused by the whole 3-leg deal.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how that works for leaping.
It's like a little tripod. Just,
yeah. Oh, okay. I was expecting like.
It's like leaping like 1 leg at a time.
Well, I was thinking, like the 3-in-1 night in Monty Python, Holy Grail.
Oh, yes.
Like the 3 nights in one.
Yeah.
I was expecting that, but like the body's wide with 3 legs. So like this one's leaping forward, but while that one's already leaping forward, like the next one's getting ready. So it's almost like a steady gallop of leg.
That's pretty. That's pretty bizarre sounding. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just took it as like the same way we jumped and just all 3 at the same time. All 3 at the same time.
Oh yeah. I guess. That's more of a hop or a jump than a leap, though.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Also, just
either
like
way,
the Hopkinsville Goblins, goes right for that 22.
Yeah. Good on him.
Yeah, grabs that pistol. He's ready for it. And also,
I didn't look up where Enfield is, but it's probably in the good part of Illinois, which is anywhere outside of Chicago or Champaign, Urbana.
Enfield. Hey, I like Urbana.
What? You've been there?
No, I don't know anything about it.
I was gonna say that's where Nicole and I got stranded.
The really?
Yeah, when my car exploded.
Oh my God! There's an emo band called American Football, and that's like where they're from. And their first cover art was just like a house, and just like it wasn't even their house; it was just a picture of a house in Urbana.
Huh.
And I had a friend in college he went on a pilgrimage there. Like people were going to Chicago for a field trip. He's like, "I'll tag along, but we need to stop by Urbana."
That's where
shout out Brett Stats if you happen to be watching.
That's where we got stranded after my car exploded, and
wow.
rolled in the shop
for the
at
Xterra
4:55, and they closed at 5, and it was a Friday. So basically, just got it there, and they're like, "We'll take a look at it Monday. You guys can wait for a ride or something out back." So we just made a little shanty town. We're shucking corn behind a
Nice.
automotive spot in downtown Champaign-Urbana, which is pretty dangerous.
All right, so I just looked up. Enfield is like, it's like if my hand was Illinois, it's like right there on the border of like Indiana, Kentucky, like the little tri-state area. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's a good part.
Yeah, we like it.
We like him. All right.
We'll take him.
All right, so Henry just called the police, right? Now, upon investigation, the state troopers discovered a series of scratches in the siding of the house, and footprints that were very similar to a dog's, but having 6 toes instead of 4. 2 of the tracks were 4 inches wide, while the print left in the third was a lot smaller. So apparently there was, footprints, and it did show an animal that only had 3 legs.
I think 4 inches wide is like the size of like a wolf.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
pretty good size. Now,
I mean, that's probably like that big.
it's smaller
Pretty
than my
big
hand,
for.
so it's not that
pretty-
big. Sorry.
Yeah, but like you got to think about how much a dog's leg narrows down.
Yeah, they get tiny. So, many on the police force were skeptical about what McDaniel had seen, despite having just received news of an attack on a small boy just 30 minutes earlier. The creature had ripped at the child's clothes with claws on its arms, while the talons on the toe had shredded the kid's shoes. However, the police couldn't find any trace of the entity, so things cooled down for the moment. However, on May 6th at 3 a.m., Henry encountered the creature again, after having roused from his sleep by a commotion from the neighbor's dogs. Also, I like stories that use the word roused.
Yeah, man, this guy can't catch a break with this horror.
Once again, he saw the creature loitering about near the train tracks. This went on for several minutes until the entity casually bounced away into the night. McDaniel later said, "I saw something moving out on the railroad track, and there it stood. I didn't shoot at it or anything. It started on down the railroad track again, but it wasn't in a hurry or nothing." Then, after word of the Enfield Horror had gotten around, people began to flock to the small town in hopes of seeing this thing.
Man, now this thing's just loitering.
It's messing with them, dude, right? Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to come back to your place, but I'm just going to bounce away into the night. I bet this thing had, however you can bounce with swagger, this thing did it. Just like, you shot at me, you definitely hit me, but I didn't even care. I went and mauled a kid.
Yeah, like just like a pesky teenager at this point.
Smoking a cigarette with
he
one of its legs.
He left a bag of dog poop on his porch and then bounced away. So
that's what you get for shooting me.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that is true. Yeah, he full on shot it. Man.
I like the. Well, let me just preface this by saying the thing was semi-polite. It wasn't like doing the whole creepy cryptid, like looking in the windows,
It
like
did the equivalent of knocking on the door, really.
Yeah, it did the best it could with claws.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
don't know. I don't know how spindly its arms are, but I mean, it probably couldn't get a very solid pound with like a fist.
You know what? We're
So
only
just
hearing McDaniel's side of the story. For all we know, it was just holding some Girl Scout cookies or maybe some Boy Scout popcorn or something.
Yeah, which is why we're having our first guest. We'd like to welcome on the Enfield Horror.
Hey, I feel like I really misrepresented.
He's shy. Where are you at? You booked him, right?
Oh, God. That's the day.
Oh, man.
Whose
door is he going to show up at?
I hear some gunshots off in the apartment's hallway.
I hear scratching. That's probably typical.
He's on the green room of Jimmy Fallon or something, just sitting there waiting to go on.
Man, that would have been really funny if my wife just burst in at that moment.
Yeah.
Said hi, and I was like, there it is! The Illinois Horror. No.
Should we? No, okay.
Nah.
Yeah, okay.
No, she's no horror. She's an angel.
Yeah. Okay,
but no, we didn't book him, guys. What his manager wanted to charge was crazy.
We didn't book him. He's famously dead.
Yeah.
This was a long time ago. So.
Died on the toilet like Elvis.
Yeah. It's actually the stall next to Elvis, little known fact.
So the horror has left Enfield.
Gosh, I hope you at all home. I hope you guys at home think this is funny. 'Cause I think this is comedy. All right, so they were very enthusiastic.
Very terrible.
Who is
Peter? That's very bad.
It's a great Cleveland.
Thank you.
So people started coming to this small town hoping to see it, right? And they were very enthusiastic about it, but they were also rather intrusive. This prompted the local sheriff, Roy Poshard Jr., to warn McDaniel about keeping his mouth closed, or he would be forced to I almost said incinerate. He'd be forced to incarcerate McDaniel. Over the next few months, the crowds began to grow larger, and with the larger crowds came increased alarm among the citizens of Enfield. Some among them were genuine monster hunters, while others were just hunters or thrill seekers with guns. And this forced the sheriff's hand, particularly when he had to arrest 5 gun-toting hunters for shooting a gray thing that ran through the woods.
You know, there's nothing that says there's something going on like a policeman saying, you better keep your mouth shut about this.
Yeah, right.
Like, even if you were a skeptic before, if the sheriff is like, don't tell anybody about what you saw, like you didn't see anything. It's like, well, I wasn't sure what I saw, but now I definitely saw something.
Yeah, but now I'm certain about it.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to go tell people because you don't want it out.
Yeah, and what else I find funny about that one is, like, so that last part there, they shot something, a gray thing. You never know what, like, you never find out what it was. Like, there's no stories that are like, here's what it was, or like, and it's like they shot, a doe or something in the woods. No, it's just like they shot something. Something died.
Yeah, something gray is dead in them woods.
Yeah, like Fido's gone, bro.
Huh. Interesting.
Whew.
Was it like they shot and then they were like immediately arrested? Or did like they shoot and just not even look for it? They're like high-fiving coming out of the woods like, hey, we did it.
The guy's like, pow! Wow. I killed the monster. And leaves.
They're like, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Sheriff is right there. All right. You got your shot off.
Yeah. Thanks for saving our town. You're going to jail. Okay, so move right along. Now, 2 of the hunters, Mike Mogul and Roger Tappy, both from Elwood, Indiana, so pretty close by, both swore that they had witnessed a gray monkey quickly move through the underbrush. Sheriff Poshard made numerous threats against Henry McDaniel, which, I mean, it should be noted that it had no effect whatsoever because he still kept talking about it, people stopped coming. But McDaniel was convinced that there was something strange going on. Shortly thereafter, once the frenzy of hunters and tourists had died down, 4 more people saw the Enfield Horror.
Just had to get the heat off it.
Yeah. Now there's no like stories as to like what they saw exactly. That's just like a general like, yeah, other people saw it. But
that's kind of like how it was for the Popobawa, where they're like, yeah, there's tons of reports, and then you're like, reports of Popobawa this year, and it's just like, people saw it. You
wanted to hear about it? Oh, my bad.
Yeah. They're like, people saw it. Have you interviewed anybody? Nope, but people saw it. Like, all right, this is absolutely useless. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, cool. Now what? All right, so yeah, that's the main story of the Enfield Horror. It's pretty freaky, right? The idea of a creature like that just showing up at your doorstep.
Yeah, I'd say. All right, as far as things showing up on your doorstep, the best thing to see is friendly dog or cat, then unfriendly dog or cat, then neighbor, whether you're good or bad neighbor, then probably the horror, and then black-eyed children, and the absolute worst thing that you don't want to see on your doorstep is a Mormon.
Hey, oh God.
Got him. I don't want to hear about your fake book written in the 60s?
that'd be funny. Like you check your what's it called, the peephole. You check your peephole. You see a Mormon out there, and you're like, oh God, honey, back away. Just be very calm. You know?
No. Even better. You look at your peephole and you look down. You see the 3-legged little stumpy arm talon
with
thing.
a pocket protector and like a tie.
No, I was gonna say that would be the worst. So you look down through your peephole and you see that little 3-legged stumpy arms with talons and everything. You look down and see him. And you're like, oh my gosh, kids, babe, there's a monster outside. And you look back through the peephole and you see a group of Mormons walking up the driveway. And you go, quick, get in.
You grab the monster.
You grab the horror and turn out all the lights and you just like sit down with him.
You'll be safe here.
Be very quiet, buddy.
Yeah. And it's just like sitting there like, it's freaking out.
Thank you.
All right. I just sent you the most, like, there's 2 most common depictions of it. That's one of them.
Oh, what the heck?
Yeah, it's a bizarre little bugger, huh?
Yeah, that would not be good on the old porch.
Now that one's kind of a slightly 3D version of it. It's not fully 2D.
Is there another?
And here's another straight up 2D one.
Ugh. Wait, where's the 3rd leg?
So that, I mean, you can kind of see it. It looks like a tail almost in the back there.
Yeah, that thing's freaky.
It has like no, its legs are essentially its arms, and it like walks on 3 arms. That's what it looks like to me. It's almost like it just has no legs.
That one almost looks like it's got like an elephant's tail kind of thing.
It does look like an elephant's tail.
Like
that's
that
supposed to be
third
its third
leg wouldn't
though.
really be doing much.
Yeah. So that's a bizarre freaking creature there. But yeah, so a couple of depictions also show it as having like smaller front arms, almost T-Rex-esque, and then like, 3 legs. But you saw, you heard McDaniel's description, so there's not really too much to go off of in terms of like what exactly it looked like. So yeah, those are the 2 most common depictions I've seen though, is that weird, almost looks like a worm with legs type of thing.
Yeah, that thing's got some teeth on him.
Mm-hmm. Actually, more like an eel with legs. That's what it reminds me of.
Did he describe what it did whenever he opened the door? Or did he just like see it and immediately slam?
It sounds like he just saw it, slammed the door, grabbed the stuff, opened it back up, and then it's like, you shot me, and it ran.
I probably would have shot through the door. Yeah,
the idea of opening the door back up after, I think I wouldn't open the door again after that. I would just like have the gun ready, but I wouldn't want to open the door again.
I'd probably just shoot through the door. I mean, patching some holes in the wooden door, or even replacing your door to shoot a
small price
a literal monster that you've just seen on your porch.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good bargain there.
I'm excited to get to the explanations here, because we have a couple more stories before we get to it. But talking about what you just said there, one of the explanations that I think is pretty funny to imagine there. But okay, we'll get there though. So there are a couple other stories that are like similar creatures, if not the same creature. And the first one comes from a man named Rick Rainbow, which very well could be a fake name as far as I'm concerned. But
probably DJ name.
Yeah, right. He's like a children's DJ for like birthday parties. Like, hey kids, dude, I'm Rick Rainbow.
No, it says director of a radio station.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. It does say that.
Do you think the real name of the guy at Z-Rock is really Monkey Boy?
He's at the bank and he's like, I'd like to open up an account. And it's like, all right, sure. And under what name? Monkey Boy. Can you spell that for me? Monkey Boy. You got it.
Boy with an I. The local rock station, the guy that comes on for most of the day, he goes, hey, hope you're enjoying it. I've been fuzzy. And every time I hear it, I'm like, got one of those cringe rock radio guys.
Yeah,
nickname.
That's great. All right, sorry for that little tangent there, but so on Sunday, May 6th, Rick Rainbow, then the director of radio station WWKI in Kokomo, Indiana, was searching an area with 3 friends when he saw something that was around 5.5 feet in height. Gray.
It grew.
Yeah, right. That's substantially larger than what it was. Okay, so it was around 5.5 feet tall, gray, and stooped over, running through the woods near an abandoned house, which was reported to be nearby McDaniels' home, which, even though this is Indiana, not Illinois, where McDaniels lived was on the border of Indiana and Illinois, so checks out.
I like that one. It grew about a foot.
Yeah.
In between this time, which is good.
Stooped over running, so it might even be taller than that, you know?
Yeah, but then second, it said, man, I'm too tiny, and this leaping thing just isn't really doing it. I'm tired of bouncing. Nobody gets scared by bouncing. Yeah, he's like, nobody gets scared by bouncing. So he's like, I'm going to grow a foot tall. I'm going to start booking it. Just running. I'm going to use these legs, dude.
I got 3 legs, and gosh darn it, I'm going to use them. It says, the entity moved with unnatural speed and quickly vanished from the 4 men's sight. However, Rick Rainbow claimed to have recorded the creature's eerie shriek as it ran away from them on a tape recorder. He claimed to. I didn't find that anywhere. But, yeah.
Right. What a guy. Work at the director of a radio station. You can't save your own audio.
Yeah. No, the closest thing I found is like other podcasts have like mentioned it, but I haven't actually heard a recording of it. But... So now, despite investigation by world-renowned cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman, which I'm sure you've heard of her, she's huge in the community. You guys can't see it. Parker's nodding his head yes.
Nope.
Okay. We talked about her before in this podcast.
I've never heard that name in my life.
She's most famous for being silly when it comes to Mothman.
Oh, okay.
That's it. Oh, we know. I'm sorry. That. She's most well known for being silly about the Ozark Howler. That's what it was.
Gotcha.
That's just my opinion, though, because if I recall right, she was once saying like it could be traced back to this particular prank that was caught, like that some college guy played, but there's stories that go back well before that, like that prank that happened in the late 1900s. So, yeah, doesn't check out to me. Anyways. But still highly respected in the cryptozoological community, and has hands all over in the field. But she has supposedly heard the sounds of the creature as well. The attention that the sightings received eventually died down, and the creature hasn't been seen since. Lauren told the press, I had traveled to Enfield, interviewed the witnesses, looking at the siding of the house the Enfield monster had damaged, heard some strange screeching banshee-like sounds, and walked away bewildered. So she had no explanation for it. That's pretty cool to hear from a proper investigator.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that is
I don't know. That's pretty easy conclusion to come up with, though.
Like you check like 5 spots and you're like, oh, weird.
She went on vacation there, talked to some folks, looked at scratches on sidings.
That'd be funny. It's like I went to the cutest bed and breakfast. Did some art at the local pottery barn, and like
I stayed at the cutest bed and breakfast. I thought that the horror would come around there. It didn't. So then next time I checked out the best spa in town, and during my $500 chemical peel, it didn't show up either.
I stopped by one of those local orchards, picked some apples, and it was nowhere to be seen within the orchard.
Yeah, really weird.
Lastly, the Chicago airport also had no sighting of. Anyways, I kid. I do like Lauren Coleman as a scientist, if you will. So, lastly, we've got the Mount Vernon creature. Now, this is.
I've driven through there many a time.
From Illinois, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
Yep.
Well, how about that? For those of you that don't know, Parker's wife was from Illinois. I guess is still from Illinois, technically. And Parker used to drive.
Yeah,
good 6
we'd
hours
swap off every day.
Every day. Sorry, no, every week.
That's like I walked up. I went to school and walked uphill both ways.
Parker, he woke up, drove an hour to work, and after he got off of work, he would drive 6 hours up to Nicole's place, spend some time with her.
I would say hi, and then I'd drive back to get back to work
because they were good Christian-fearing couple. So he would go back.
Christian-fearing. I'm terrified of Christians.
Sorry, good Christian, God-fearing people. My bad. Anyways.
But yeah, we'd swap off, like, she'd drive a weekend, I'd drive a weekend, 6.5 hours, and we had one route that would take us through Mount Vernon.
So yeah, the Mount Vernon creature. So between the years of 1941 and 1942, there was a string of similar sightings in a small village of Mount Vernon, which is about like 40 miles away from Enfield. Now, these encounters involved a mysterious leaping beast that terrorized the local people, and it is supposedly responsible for numerous animal deaths and mutilations in the region. Yeah. Now, the locals called the creature the Mount Vernon Monster and described it as being vaguely baboon-like in appearance and able to leap anywhere from 20 to 40 feet in a single bound. I doubt it. However, this creature is likened to be more like a devil monkey than the Enfield monster. But it is a possibility that it was, in fact, the same creature. Now, you saw that sorry, one of the cats is scratching. But you saw the picture of the Enfield beast, right? You saw what it looked like? Or at least like what the depiction of it was with the 3 legs and all that. This one, I mean, it doesn't sound... the original creature doesn't sound like baboon. Like I'm imagining that, you know, in the 70s... people, the average bear and whatnot, would know what a baboon looks like.
Oh, for sure.
So I think that he would have been able to be like, oh, yes, it looked like a baboon. But
yeah,
that's not what he said. So I don't know if like the people just kind of mistook what they saw back then. Maybe saw the third leg as being a tail, or if it's just
pretty hard to mistake those artist renderings with a baboon.
That's for
I mean, like a thing that looks like a death worm with legs.
Yeah.
Like velociraptor legs.
Yeah.
Compared to baboon.
Yeah, no, granted those are just artist renderings, so I don't know if that is exactly what the creature looked like, but yeah.
But I mean, it matches the original description, though.
More than the baboon, that's for goddamn sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's another cool story, though, that like so close to the Enfield Horror, location, there was a similar type of creature sighted.
It's probably a portal around there.
Oh, shit.
Actually, maybe, because southern Illinois has a bunch of, like, Bigfoot stuff. So maybe.
Oh, my gosh. Are we going to get into the missing 411 and the portals and all that?
And Hoosier.
Yeah. Hoosier? What's Hoosier?
That's...
Hoosier Daddy. Oh, you got me. you got me.
No, I think Hoosier's in southern Indiana. But I think there's a national forest kind of there in southern Illinois. Southern Illinois has some topography to it, and supposedly quite a bit of Bigfoot stuff.
Wow. Yeah, one thing me and Parker were talking about doing is, like, with this being a largely cryptid-based show and Bigfoot being like the biggest, I don't think we're going to do just like one episode on Bigfoot. I think we're going to kind of break it down and talk about different regions, different types of sightings for different areas, or like different factors about Bigfoot, and kind of split it up into different things. But
yeah, like I was saying, like Bigfoot not just Bigfoot, but like get a collection of Bigfoot stories that involve both Bigfoot, but then like the other high strangeness stuff that goes along with it.
Yeah. Or even just like Bigfoot in regards to Illinois, if you will, or
or like
Bigfoot of the Pacific Northwest.
Bigfoot's most violent attacks.
Yeah.
Bigfoot's most passive conversations.
Yeah.
Bigfoot's tea time.
Bigfoot's favorite stores.
Bigfoot's favorite record shop.
Yeah.
Across the country.
Bigfoot likes to use.
Yeah. Garnier.
Yeah. Bigfoot's shampoo.
Maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe it's Bigfoot.
Bigfoot's take on Greek yogurt.
Bigfoot, yeah.
Oh, gosh. But, all right, so that is the story of the Enfield Horror. So with this encounter being such an isolated incident, there's really not a lot of like proposed explanations, but there is one fun one that's thrown out there, and I personally love it, so I'm excited to talk about it. So some people may think that this creature may have been an escaped kangaroo. They say that this could be the case because the creature was said to have 3 legs, and with the size of the kangaroo's tail, it could look something like a third leg if it were, I don't know, like dark out or you were freaked out or something like that. And also, the creature was described as being like 4 to 4.5 feet tall, and that fits the bill for some kangaroos like to a T. And also, if I recall right, the original description said it was gray, and there's a whole species of kangaroo called the gray kangaroo. You know what?
Oh. You know what they don't really have? Talons.
They do. Kangaroos?
Yeah, but
I mean,
not like
talons, but they have claws, though, yeah.
Yeah, they have claws. Claws are different than talons.
Okay, yeah, claws are different than talons. However, I've heard kangaroos can mess people up with those claws.
Oh, yeah, but
I imagine a kangaroo can scratch a door. I like the idea of okay, so going back to the original story, right? Let me read this. I want you guys to now imagine a kangaroo, okay? Kangaroo shows up to this guy's house. Yes? All right, so yeah, kangaroo scratching at the door and like has its little arms scratching. The guy opens up the door and it stood about 4.5 feet tall and was grayish colored, and it was trying to get into the house. But it stood 4.5 feet tall and was grayish colored, and it was trying to get into the house. Henry was completely mortified by the sight of this horrible apparition and slammed the door. He rushed to grab his .22 pistol.
This
Henry
is what you're talking about.
Henry proceeded to fire on the kangaroo 4 times.
Blah, blah, blah.
When I fired the first shot, I knew I hit it. The beast hissed at him. Here's the guy, ha! And it proceeded to bound away in long leaps across the yard. I just love the idea of this man opening up the door to see a kangaroo, panics, leaves, gets a gun, comes back, then shoots it.
Yeah.
In
between time, he could have processed. Wait, that was a kangaroo.
Yeah. Like, maybe I shouldn't shoot that kangaroo.
I don't know. If a kangaroo's on your doorstep and you live in Illinois, you probably should shoot it or lasso it.
Yeah, you can do something. You don't have to shoot it, though. After the media started covering this bizarre story, a man from Ohio told a local newspaper that he thought the creature may have been his own pet kangaroo, Macy, which had gone missing about a year prior. And as we discussed, this is on the far side of Illinois, so the kangaroo would have had to cross the entire state of Indiana, but like it's not impossible.
It's skinny.
Yeah.
That's pretty skinny.
Yeah, I think you can drive the whole thing in like 3 hours.
Short way is probably not even that.
So yeah, it's possible. But yeah, so that's that story, and like I don't know, it's just so funny to me, the idea of like this guy opens the door, it's like, oh my god, and he slams the door. Is this a kangaroo?
Like classic horror movie, like slams himself against the door. He's like Dad, what is it? What is it? It's a kangaroo.
It's like, it's a hell incarnate, son. Go grab your gun.
That's basically how quite a few Australians feel about him.
Yeah.
You know?
One of my favorite videos is there's a guy who's like, he's skydiving, right? And he's on his parachute, about to land. And like out of the corner of the video, you can see there's this kangaroo running toward him. As soon as he lands, the kangaroo comes up, punches him a couple
ready
of
to
times.
go.
Yeah, it's just like pop, pop. And the guy's like freaking out. He's like, oh, yeah, I don't want to say he's cursing like a sailor, but it's funny. Anyways.
Well,
So that particular explanation doesn't sound too convincing to me, and McDaniel wasn't crazy about this one either. He said he actually owned a kangaroo himself while stationed in Australia. Yeah, right? While he was in the military.
A lot of kangaroo lore going around in the
Yeah.
A lot of kangaroo lore going around in the Midwest here. More than I thought.
I know. It's surprising, especially for the 70s. But he said that he actually owned a kangaroo himself while stationed in Australia when he was in the military. He also said that it wasn't no kangaroo, and that kangaroos have narrow faces, tracks that leave claw marks, and, he had a kangaroo, so he seems like he knows kangaroos pretty well.
Yeah.
And he knows that the creature he saw was, in fact, not a roo.
Huh. Yeah, that's okay. Let's be devil's advocate here.
Yeah?
I'm curious if he really owned a kangaroo, or if like people were like, you didn't see this horrific thing on your porch, and he's like, yeah, I did. It's not a kangaroo. Like, I know kangaroos. I own one. They're like, really? When? He's like, I was stationed in Australia
when I was in the military.
I had one.
It's like, you were never in the military. And he's just sitting there sweating.
Sweating bullets.
Yeah. But,
raining bullets.
Yes, so that's actually all I've got on the Enfield Horror. It's a pretty short story, but definitely a creepy one, a little fun one for the spooky season. And we are keeping spooky season going next week with another freaky creature from Filipino folklore. You want to give us a little sneak peek about that?
So next week we're going to be talking about, I was going to say like the Oswong, but that's almost not even correct because like people just like, they'll say like the Oswong, but whenever you start delving in, there's like a bunch of different subversions. I think we'll still just keep it as like the whole umbrella term of them. There's like a bunch of different types. Some of them are like, oh, that's not too bad. And like other ones that are like, that's the freakiest thing I've ever heard of in my life. All right. So yeah, we're going to get the spooks going real bad next week.
Wow.
Getting some real freaky stuff going after women and children.
Filipino, and like he told me a little bit about it, and yeah, it sounds pretty freaky.
Yeah, not a good creature, and like pretty heavily within the whole Filipino lore, depending on
I'll go
where
as far
you
as
are
say,
in the Philippines.
He doesn't sound like a good guy.
Not at all. Especially because it's most of the time a woman.
A woman?
Yeah, and women don't make good guys. But yeah, they're pretty freaky. We'll get into some of the versions. They're pretty mild. It's like, oh, it's just like a witch kind of character, and some of them you're like, oh boy, that's a big deal. And it's, from what I've seen, like looking through forums and all these stories and stuff like that, it's like it's pretty heavily within all of Filipino lore. Like it seems like
it's well known.
It's not just like a lot of these cryptids you kind of got to get in the weeds about it.
Well, I can tell you, with my friend I was talking to, his family's been in America for a few generations now, but he knew it the second I said it, so it's still pretty strong. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty weird. We'll see about it. We'll get maybe a little bit scared for, I believe, our final episode of this spooky season.
No. We got one more after that. We're going to shadow people that finishes out.
Oh, I was about to say we're ending with the scariest thing. No, we're not.
No, we're not. Yeah. No, the shadow people is going to be the last one of spooky season because I think that's about the scariest thing you can't cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Between that and black-eyed kids.
Yeah, I would like to
those get me bad. Those are no bueno. God. Don't like it.
The original Scared to Death episodes that talked about them.
Yeah.
You remember those?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I remember like listening to those Scared to Death podcasts. Shout out Scared to Death podcast. It's great show. Highly recommend it.
Shout out Dan Cummins.
Yeah, and Lindsay as well.
Suck nasty.
Yeah, but I remember like listening to one of those ones while driving to Houston at like 10 o'clock at night. Tears just streaming. It like got me, dude.
Yeah, I used to listen to him when I was on my drive to Nicole's.
Yeah.
And most of the time I would leave class, and like some days I would get to leave at like maybe 10 in the morning, so I'd get there at like 6 or 8 or whatever. But in the wintertime, sometimes I couldn't leave class until like 4 or 5, but I'd still do the 6.5 hours. Mm-hmm. So I'd be like driving a good bit of those hours, especially in the winter at night. And for some stupid reason, I'd listen to Scared to Death.
Yeah, me too.
And man, like the Black-Eyed Kids, those got me really good. There's a bunch of other ones where I'm just like, there's some where it's like people driving and seeing stuff in the rear view, and I'd be like, nope. Nope.
Put a sock over the rear view or something.
Yeah. Like, don't need that. Side mirrors only.
Yeah. So we got some real spooky stuff coming up. And well, thanks for sticking around, everybody. If you want to check us out on social media and whatnot, you can follow us at Legends and Loggers. And I think that's about it.
Yep. I hope you guys are having a good spooky season. We'll see you next week. But until then, stay wild.
Yep. And keep on sucking. And live life legendary.